what do you want to do on our day off as we travel? And I said, well, if I know you like I know you, Trent, you've made a list of things and you've researched everything on this island.
It's already got a plan.
Yeah, right, every time. And so at the top of the list, it said the Blue Lagoon. I knew he'd researched on this beautiful place in Jamaica called the Blue Lagoon. And he found out that in the middle of the lagoon was a hole that went down about 240 feet deep, and he wanted to free dive that day. So we headed there. We had lunch on the edge of the water. He suited up. He said, I'll be gone for 15 minutes and I'll come back. And I said, okay. I waited there on the edge of the water for 15 minutes, for 30, 45. And about that time, something began to grip every part of me, and I felt for the first time fearful. I felt like something had shifted, something had changed, and I was scared. And I got up and I got close to the edge of the water, and I started to look out in this lagoon. And free diving is where you go in without oxygen, without tanks. You hold your breath. Whoa. He could hold his breath up to about 5 minutes underwater.
Wow. Okay.
So I knew I'd have to see him every few minutes, and I saw nothing. And a boat came into the lagoon. I got in the boat with the people, said, would you take me out and search for my husband? I haven't seen him. And we got in this boat, and we began to circle this lagoon, and with each passing moment of seeing nothing, I couldn't help the feeling of knowing that my life would never be the same again. Like I knew it was starting to settle already. I was starting to, like the reality of what was happening in my life at that moment was starting to become clear, even though I was confused. We couldn't find him. And so I went back to the dock. And I said, then I'll sleep here on the edge of the water till we start again in the morning, because I have nowhere to go. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. We're out in the middle of nowhere. And they said, we don't want you to have to do that, but we're going to take you up to a home of 2 doctors that want to watch out for you through the night. And I'll never forget the next morning, the doctor coming into my room. He said, Tammy, come quickly. We want to show you the television in the other room. So I walked into that room, staring at the television, the morning of September 11th, 2001. So as the second plane was plowing into the Twin Towers in New York City on 9/11, I was sitting there in a foreign country, staring at that television, also wondering where the love of my life was, and had anybody seen him. Moments later, we got a call that my family was grounded on planes all across the country. Not one person could get to me. Everybody was grounded, was trapped, was stuck. And then I got the next call that they had found Trent in the Blue Lagoon. He was down about 100 feet, still hanging on to his underwater scooter. Something had struck him on the back of the head. He obviously then took his last breath and he was gone. He didn't survive. He didn't make it. And I remember just falling to the ground, just sobbing, just asking God, why? Like, what do I do with this? What part of the plan didn't work? How do I live? How do I breathe? How do I move? How will I get through any of this? Do you see this girl? I mean, I think those are my first questions. Like, do you see me, God? Where are you when I need you? And I felt very alone. I truly felt alone. I felt hopeless. I didn't know how to make it better. And I didn't even know exactly what to say, what to pray. But I remember in those moments trying to put the pieces together, lifting up my hands and crying out to God. It's like the only prayer that would even come out of my mouth was help. God, help me. And then I would sing praise songs. They were the only thing that were truly like a lifeline, tying me to hope at that moment. And that began at that moment the journey of my life, the last 17 years that I never ever thought I would be walking. And how do we trust God when things go wrong? How do we trust God when nothing makes sense? How do we trust God when we can't see His hand in something? And do we really believe that He can restore those broken, hopeless places of our lives? And you know what? I didn't have all the answers to that, and sometimes I still don't have all the answers to that. But I certainly didn't know then, but I knew enough that I still believed. I knew enough that God loved me, even though I hated what was happening in my life, that Tammy, somehow you won't just survive this, but you will overcome it. Do you believe? Do you believe everything that you started learning from the time you were in youth group? Do you believe it or don't you? It's a lot easier to feel like we're abandoned and that God has walked away when everything's going wrong. You know, it's easy for us to think that God is so great when everything's going great. So here I was when everything was going wrong, and I had to trust God and try to figure out what all of this meant for my life.
Like what you saw? Make sure to comment and like below. Hit that subscribe button for more content uploaded weekly.